I'm Cindy. Nice to meet everybody. And whether it's good or bad, narrative drives pretty much everything in this space. So I'm very excited to dive into how people on this stage make that happen, right? So I'm just going to start with you guys doing an intro and then maybe share a favorite marketing campaign, your own or something that you've seen.
Perfect. Well, this is Silvia. I'm from Barcelona originally, and I have been in the space for 5 years now, and I'm running Blockchain Marketing Boutique. Blockchain Marketing Boutique is a full-stack marketing company. We do PR, social media, content, depending on the needs of our clients. Thank you.
Very cool.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline, and I'm the marketing director for APAC at Serotonin. Maybe you guys have heard, we're expanding aggressively right now into the APAC markets. And for those who don't know what Serotonin is, we just bring all the coolest breakthrough technologies into market. Maybe we'll start with that, and then the case studies can come later.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm MK, and I'm the core contributor to the Blockchain for Good Alliance and Bybit. So I head up the Web3 marketing team for Bybit, and I hope some of you guys are our customers over here. Good to see everyone.
And I don't know if you guys wanted to share, but is there a favorite marketing campaign that's top of mind from many of you?
Who wants to go first?
I can start. My favorite campaign that I ran, it was for RCD Español. We launched an NFT collection 3 years ago, and it was a challenge there because we had a Web3 community that they wanted to have our NFTs, but then we have the socios of RCD Español. These guys were for 40, 50 years old, so we had to do a lot of education for them to make them understand what we are doing. And also the technology that we used in that moment Magic Link. I don't know if you know this technology. Now it's a little bit easier, but in that moment I think it was only the companies that they were doing that. And we were creating the wallets with their email. So with this, we reduced the friction. And with different activations in the stadium, that was really fun. We had some merchant, and yes, we had a lot of good time.
Cool. So one of these projects, this is pre-Serotonin time, so this is when I was in a company called Gusto. We launched a really, really exciting project because apart from the Pudgy Penguin, so that's a Pudgy plug, I don't really see a lot of projects that are able to really bridge that Web 2, Web 3 space. So one of these projects that I was on actually managed to do that, and it was for entertainment. Not sure if you guys have heard of a guy called Louis Koo. He's an actor and a pretty big celebrity in the mainland markets, Hong Kong markets, I think also Taiwan, maybe. So he came out with one of the top grossing films of all time around about 3 years ago, and it was called Warriors of Future. It talks about kind of alien versus predators mixed with a bit of Transformers. But the long and short of it was we were able to really bring that marketing strategy to play. So what did we do? We built out NFTs at the time for them, but they were modular NFTs, so you can switch out different attributes. So it became kind of like a trading game, you know, like Pokemon. I can trade this card so that I can get the best set. And then once you actually get a full, complete set of your favorite, it was like a Gundam kind of robot armor, right? You can activate real-world rewards, which means the actor promised a meal with the person who actually could get the golden Gundam suit. Then we also built a game so that you can load that strange in-game NFT asset into play, right? I'm only starting to see that happen more frequently these days. So back in 2021, this was like a huge deal. And then we got actually, Web 2 world involved. We got all the 7-Elevens to give out coupons where you can scan that QR code and download an in-game asset that was only specific to 7-Eleven. We did that with a couple of other shopping malls as well. So can you imagine like all the different touch points you can go through, just collecting and really tracing your users from online to offline so that they can get unique assets based on their own activity. Plus we also had a collaboration with Hot Toys. So when you bought the toy, you also get a special in-game asset. So that's how I see a really, really great comprehensive marketing package.
wow, it's hard to top that coming after Caroline. I think I have two perspectives to offer. So one from BGA, where we do a lot of incubation for projects. So I think the one thing that I really enjoyed at BGA was that on top of really supporting them from consultations and resources all the way to the marketing, we ended this year with BGA Oscars, which is actually an award show where we showcase all the kind of projects that we incubated throughout the year, and we gave them a chance for the users to also discover them and give them awards and support as well. So that's like a way for us to use our platform to give extra visibility to projects. Now, from a Bybit perspective, I think one of the most fun one that we did this year was WSOT Web3 edition. So WSOT is an inaugural trading competition that we hold for all our users. But for Web3 this year, again, our perspective was to kind of bring in our ecosystem partners as well. So we had a Web3 idol competition. Essentially, over 100 projects were available for trading on Bybit Web3. And they are basically rallying all their communities to come in and trade and vote. So then we had 10 teams that debut, and then we had like one team that has their own theme song that our CEO band picked. But I think the fun thing for us was to kind of inject. I mean, there's always trading competitions all along, pretty necessary. But it was a fun way to wrap it up for everyone and a fun way for users to also get into, oh, it's not just trading, this is fun. I'm supporting some of the next Web3 idol stars. And I think the kind of engagement that we've gotten with everyone was really, really meaningful for us too.
Yeah, that's lovely. And I kind of want to dive into that a little bit more because I understand BGA is a nonprofit backed by Bybit, as I understand. With exchanges having such huge mind share in this space, how do you kind of, use that to your advantage for pushing, I guess, BGA or other projects that you're passionate about?
Yeah, and I think BGA just really started in 2024. I think Bybit as a brand and exchange as a platform also really took its time to really flesh out its services. And it's a lot more mature for us now to go into a non-profit kind of incubator track. So this year, I think we had so much more of the internal team members and the network that we were able to bring in to onboard onto BGA. And I think that was really crucial as a brand and as a business for us as well. So for BGA, I think on top of getting insights to our own teams from a product and technical standpoint and marketing and brand, I think a lot of it was the connections that we had from our ecosystem partners, fellow projects and devs and builders. What Bybit really sees ourselves as a kind of gateway to Web3, but also really that kind of bridge to bring everyone together, which is why I think when you look at our campaigns and our initiatives, we are really a lot more about not just B2B and B2C, it's really B2B2C and ecosystem and everything. I think this perspective would be really what is driving us forward so far as well.
Thank you. And then earlier, I do also kind of want to touch on what you shared about, I guess, to me, it's a little bit like incentives design. How do you kind of see that growing and changing in this space? We're seeing so many different ways. If you're in the Web3 space native, it's things like testnet rewards, airdrops. But like you said, if you're trying to bring mass audiences into the space, what are you seeing people do more nowadays? And what can people building projects for the future do to bring that attention to them?
Well, whenever we use the term airdrops, most of the Web2 people have absolutely no idea what you're on about anyway. So it really depends if we're trying to target them or target the Web3 native, right? So that line is a distinction we often talk to clients about. Granted, what I'm seeing at this moment, and I don't know about you guys, but there's a lot of TGEs happening. And they're all rushing to market, AKA T-minus 10 days, or the TGE should have happened yesterday. And from that side, I mean, I get it. Everybody wants to do this before Trump's inauguration, all right? We understand that market trend. But ultimately, every time we talk to projects, it's talking about more sustainable builds. Yes, you will get a lot of alpha, time the market, right? That's also one key aspect of it, right? But if you're just going to rush into doing a TGE, you're incentivizing people, trying to gain community really quickly with airdrops, they're just going to drop that airdrop, right? They're just going to sell it, short it. Your project is afterwards might not mean a lot to them. So it's really about building stickiness. Stickiness is one of the things that takes time to build because you need to understand your project, its narratives, and how you appeal to your audience, right? I mean, and this is some marketing tips, most projects and most people looking into projects like to hear your story. Why should they care? You're screaming on top of the mountain. Why should they care about you and not the other project that has very, very close to similar offerings, which we're seeing a lot in this space. So identifying that narrative, pinpointing one that actually resonates, and it's an emotional thing you're trying to get at. So incentivizing is actually emotional. I would say Berachain, for example, has done exceptional work, so has Monad, because they were able to speak the language of the people and to know their audience very, very well. Just like the Solana crowd also knows their degen culture very, very well, whereas the Ethereum guys are completely different, right? So taking the time to really develop that thesis, try not to rush it, because when you go into market and launch that TGE, you have that one chance of making that impression. Once you screw it up, people will remember you as the project that screwed up, and you're gonna have a really hard time trying to pivot from that original look and feel, right? So that's what I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that, you know, the projects who are here now are ready to stay, and we are very picky with what kind of projects we choose. We choose ones that have longevity, so you guys want to be one of those.
Yeah, thank you, and that's very essential tips and advice. I'd love to also ask for your opinion on that. It's a little bit more on the execution side as well. I know you work with a lot of founders and projects as part of your agency. Are there any kind of tools or advice for founders that may not be marketing native that they should know?
That's an interesting one. I would say I find a lot of founders that they start their products, their projects without having any marketing team. And they build stuff without knowing if there is a need in the market, there is a market fit, but they answer you, oh, I like it. If I like it, someone are going to like it as well. And it's like, okay, maybe it doesn't work like that. So I would say always before starting building anything, ask to the audience, ask what they need. Think about the problem that you are solving, because when you are building something, you need to solve a problem. It's one of the basics. And then ask if they are willing to pay for this, because maybe you are solving something that there is a problem, but no one wants to pay for that. And then if we go deeper for tools, we can find, for example, different tools like Dune. With Dune, you can do some analytics in the space to know what are the trends, to know in which areas are more hot to start building it. Also, you have cookie-free and addressable that you can track the wallets. You can see what is the behavior of your customers. And yes, these would be my recommendations.
Thank you. Sorry. And then I did want to kind of dive into the taxes that you run for BGA as well. We're surrounded by so many flashy topics and campaigns. Do you kind of see similar strategies for the campaigns that you run for public goods?
I think the interesting thing is that I think for a lot of projects here, like what Caroline was mentioning, I think we lead by financial incentives and utility first. Whereas for BGA, I think a lot of what we see more of is public or social utility, right? So I think that naturally is a little bit more differentiating its own self. Even, I mean, this is me speaking as my Bybit persona, but when we were hosting live streams for different ecosystems, I think the kind of questions we were getting from our audiences and the communities were, when is, like, what kind of applications can we see in healthcare for this chain, right? And I think one of the founder, the CTO of Aptos he was like, I wish we can really have healthcare applications already, right? Like, he was sharing that his family members were also doctors and they were really seeing a use case for it. And, you know, everyone is building the fun stuff right now, and I think it's going to take a little bit longer for it to transcend and trickle down to the public good. But this is what really BJ is about doing. And I think one of the more interesting kind of like going back to differentiation that we saw was there was a sustainable cause guy, and he was this influencer who was just all passionate about championing blockchain adoption in public organizations. And there's just so few of them right now that I feel like everything that everybody is doing is kind of differentiated. But I'm really looking forward to more competition and more collaboration for public goods, more to come, yeah.
And how do you think we can make that happen? Do you think it's kind of just like more investments in the space that can provide funding for founders?
I think it's a matter of time. With Web2, TradFi adopting Web3, I think the proof of concept has shown that it has been more efficient in whether it's capital or like speed and operational efficiency. I think traditional Web2 organizations will start seeing that happen. But I guess where Bybit or BJ is trying to foster is the B2B connections first. I think that's where we really want to bring organizations, whether it's through our own alliances with United Nations or Harvard Blockchain Society, but it's like bringing all these interested people together with the people who want to do this and make things happen and giving them the opportunity to really connect and build. Then I think we will see, like in 1 to 2 years' time, more of us sharing about like marketing for public good and blockchain, for good, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I want to go back to you and having worked with quite a lot of founders, and you mentioned earlier it's very important for them to understand marketing. When it comes to kind of building your personal brand and for people that are maybe content creators, what are some of the trends that you're seeing from people creating content, putting information out there?
Well, I think it's not a trend. It's something that it's been for long now, storytelling. Everyone likes stories. So marketers, we need to do content around this, explain what a story behind is. We need to make them understand better what is the project behind this. And then I would say as well, content creators are working very hard and they don't get any money behind it. And also still they have the centralized platforms, and the centralized platforms, they have this content. And I think that monetization of this content is something that is coming as well. You have a lot of content creators that they are building Substack newsletters now. And also, for example, we launched a few weeks ago a project in T2 that is built on Lens Protocol. And is a platform for content creators. And our project was for travel content creators to help to onboard Web2 content creators in this platform and to have some monetization of it. So I think I would say storytelling still is there, and also monetization for these content creators.
All right, very interesting. And then Caroline, you mentioned earlier that you're doing huge expansions into Asia. I'd love to get your insights in there as well and what you're seeing. There's a big difference, obviously, between marketing in Asia and the West, and any advice you have for people looking to expand here?
Sure. We have clients who come to us and go like, I want to expand in Asia, APAC. Do it. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about how actually all the regions speak different languages. How about that first? I know we are a global technology, right? But even Amazon has to localize, and that's what you're seeing right now, right? Globalization, but localized execution. No one's going to be able to attend in real life events that are hosted in space, not yet at least, right? The metaverse is there, they're there, but it's always fun to see each other in settings like this. So understanding the local culture is super, super important, the context behind it. And what we're seeing is, in terms of where we're looking at the pie, if projects are trying to get capital flow, you're trying to fundraise, Hong Kong, Singapore, they're great markets for you, right? If you're looking for a lot of traders, right, then maybe you're looking into Korea, Japan, and if you're looking for a huge amount of developers, India is a great space. So is Vietnam. Actually, also China. But obviously, there are ways to target these communities, and it's never going to be the way you think is going to happen, right? Because even amongst, let's just say, Telegram, there's so many different languages in the Telegram groups, right? And people like to speak their own native language. They want to know things in the way they want to know. That's why you join certain Telegram groups and not others, right? I mean, I think that's a very, very important distinction. So when we tell clients, as you're expanding into APAC, sure, lean on Serotonin's powers. We can help you get that messaging across, but eventually you're going to have to send your BD person, or you're going to establish a presence over there, especially if it's going to be a key market for you. And so in the whole sense of things, we're seeing the global markets right now, US, it's going to heat up thanks to Trump and whatnot, but APAC is still going to be one of those rising powers, and people should still sit and pay attention and look towards it. There are some amazing projects coming out of this space.
So to dive into that a little bit more, you're saying physical presence is very important, especially in Asia, for projects that want to expand, on top of obviously knowing the different languages in this space. Is there any other, I guess, like tips or...
So I see the Bear baddies over there. Clearly, I can always see them attending all the different events, and their events are always so well attended because we love going there, meeting the people, wearing the bear merch, right? So that's something you can only do in real life. I mean, we can send each other little bear emoticons on TG, you know, on socials, but it's always fun to meet the people you hang out with. And granted, if you're not a full-time gamer and you just eat and breathe and live inside of a game, you're going to want to spend time with these people that share your interests, especially if you're trying to build out as well. We've had so much online calls during COVID. I don't know if you guys got Zoom fatigue. I definitely know I sometimes have Zoom fatigue. In fact, I trust my Otter AI to take notes in case I'm not listening fully, right? So I think in order to get engagement that you're looking for, why is it still important to host events? Otherwise, this could all just be done online and you can just watch our videos afterwards. So yeah, in the short of it, you do need someone who understands the local market to get your space and to be a champion for your project in that space. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, definitely agree, and I love that. I'd love to dive into the pain points that you're all seeing in this space. I know we talked about it very briefly in the back there, but if you wanted to share some of the kind of the biggest pain points you're seeing as someone that's doing marketing for quite a lot of different projects, and then anything you can share.
What's the question? Sorry.
Like, what's the largest pain points that you're seeing in this space?
I would start saying that people still don't understand what is marketing and PR and the value that it's bringing. And I think it's, we are undervalued, unfortunately. And it's really, really important for the brands because at the end you have a very good technology because you spend a lot of time and money with the technology, but then you don't know how to market it. And it's really important to be able to market properly your products because then you are spending time, you are losing money because you are not doing that well, and this technology is starting to be useless. So it's important to work. Always I say that. You start building the product with marketing. And you do need to work hand to hand. Your business model and your business plan has to be very similar than your marketing plan because they have to work together. And I think it's one of the mostly pain points I find in the crypto space, that still marketing. But I have to say that recently in the last conferences, I can tell that people are starting to ask more how to do marketing. Also, they are asking, well, they are doing some improvement with the UX. But we had 2 years ago that the UX was terrible. To do some transactions, you had to click several times, right? So this is solving that. Yes, I would say that this is maybe the pain point I can find it mostly.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm personally hoping, and I do see improvements in UX, but I do think there's still some ways to go.
A kind of abstraction is helping as well.
Yeah, true, definitely, and that's another way to onboard a lot more, non-Web3 native people.
Following on to that, the best type of UX is when it's so seamless, I don't even know I'm opening my wallet, Ooh,
That's the
there
point.
we go. Yeah.
Is there an example where you've seen that?
Okay, so this is going to be a plug for another company, but Web3 Auth does amazing things where you literally sign in with your email without even knowing that on the back end you're running your wallets. Actually, they were the guys running, I think, the DevCon wallets, if you did Nillion or something like that. They're so seamless, you don't even know they're there, and that's a great B2B business.
This is the direction that we should go. And also, when I send an email, I don't know what's going on behind. So why we are so worried to tell people how blockchain works? Yeah. People don't care.
Who knows how the money gets passed from my credit card into this shop that I just want to buy a hair clip from? We don't care. I just want my hair clip.
And fast, please.
Yeah, exactly. Understanding user needs. Yeah. I'd love to hear if you've had any similar experiences.
Well, I mean, I was going to go back to the marketing pain point, but also the favorite marketing case study question that you had, Cindy. I actually think that what Apple did for the whole tech industry and products was like think different, right? And it wasn't just marketing, it was actually branding, and it was just experience that was so seamless that it just onboarded people. And I think one thing that we in Web3 are kind of adopting was the idea of evangelists, right? Having people who want to know the technology and then become the interpreters and translators to onboard everyone else was really the kind of like marketing vibes I think that's gonna really help the whole industry, along with great user experience. I was going to land on the point that just a little bit more around marketing for everyone was that don't be afraid of competition and joining, whether it's an exchange or like, you know, great campaigns that are inviting a lot of projects to join. I think that's a fast way to accelerate your own learning of how marketing can be done just by being around. Like for our WSOT Dex Wave, we have 100 projects. I think it was immediately a very fun learning curve for every project to kind of see what each one was doing to pull in the votes. But also that's where I think being agile and strategic was allowed a few of these kind of projects to quickly pivot and leverage it. And our campaign was 4 weeks long. By week 2, we were seeing like very different strategies emerge. And I think this is again to the point about marketing happening at the same time as product. Like some of these projects were able to turn around features and benefits and incentives and gamification that allowed them to just pull ahead. I challenge and I welcome, I think, everyone to kind of don't market by yourself. I think go on to the bigger platforms offered by ecosystems, platforms, and have fun. I think there's so much more time for us to learn. There's so much great marketing and efforts anyway happening that just dive in, and I think that's the fastest way to accelerate great work and get your brand and product known.
So this is, I don't know where I read this tweet, it was a while ago, but it's something that we all seem to be kind of trying to grab the attention of pretty much the same circle of users in this space. And like you said, it's like if we're going on top of like an ecosystem when we're trying to bring on this big audience, but it's the same big audience on pretty much all the ecosystems. I wonder if that's something that you guys also think, or if there's a lot more people that we can market to.
I think just from an exchange and an alliance standpoint, we partner with different foundations, right? So again, using WSOT, because I felt like that was such a pinnacle moment for us, which was that we had like Solana Foundation, you know, amplifying its projects. We had Mental, you know, actually amplifying its projects. But it was the idea of leaning on different kinds of people and bringing them in that I feel like also maximizes the visibility, but also kind of open up the different types of audiences that actually they wouldn't have reached without actually partnering up. And to be very honest, I think the Sui crowd and the Solana crowd and the Aptos crowd and, you know, all the different crowds are so different. Like when we walk into the room, we were like, okay, different vibes. Okay, go switch a little bit. But I think this is the fun part, right? Because every fundamental blockchain has their own community from a developer's and a user standpoint. And I think, I mean, yes, the project is kind of limited or not limited actually by whichever chains they are on, but I think that's where you kind of also become more aware of the larger environment that you're in and you're building for.
I think if I were to add for this one, right, there's a term that I really like, and it's called cross-cultural IP or cross-cultural exchanges. We're going to take a page out of the Web2 world, right? Louis Vuitton and Supreme, Louis Vuitton and the artists that we see. How are they able to put these two really supposedly random brands together, and yet the market accepts it? It's because it gives it a new twist. It's innovative, right? You're seeing new ideas and creatives, and this environment, or this year, going into 2025, the audience is receptive to that. We're seeing McDonald's with doodles. I think it's great. The only question is, where's the blockchain part? But that's fine. I mean, so long as we start that conversation, I think it's already a step forward for everyone working in this industry. And in the future, what I would love to see is, you know, our talks won't be like onboarding the next billion users, but it'll be like, this great project came through and this was the case study, right? And I think for anyone working in these project spaces, sometimes it's very easy to get siloed, really easy to just think within your own constructs, whereas the world's a lot wider, and marketing happens when you get external communities involved. And I think you should also, this is the beauty of Web3, you can lean on those communities to bring you new ideas. So that's my thought on it.
I really like the doodles and McDonald's, I have to say. And I want to add something that I learned, and I learned it. So I learned that I don't know everything, and I need help. I need help with other marketers, help of partners, because if we work together, we can go further. And if we stay like, I have my company, everything it's mine, you are going to stay there. So it's, I would say, partner with people, collaborate, and it's the way. And partner with Web2 companies as well. Try them to come to Web3. That is not that difficult.
Yeah, I love that. And those are all such beautiful answers. I think that's one of the things that I love the most about the space is the collaborative spirit. But I would love to thank you all so much for joining us in this panel today. And thank you all for joining. And I hope we were able to take something from marketing.
Thank you.